I am the luckiest girl alive today. And why? Not only do I get to do what I love to do, but I am actually going to interview someone who is special to me. Very unexpected, but I guess that's what this person is expected to do throughout the course of my life. And so with me in the studio today, with joy in my heart, I'm nervous. I'd like to introduce who I'm interviewing. And she is Dr. Mrs. Rekia Maria Mubuth. I am actually excited to be doing this. She is the one who has actually goaded me into doing this interview. It never occurred to me that I should interview my own mother. And I'm sure I'm going to be the first of many, or few, who will be doing that. So welcome, Mommy. And thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you very much, Comfort. I appreciate it.
So tell me why you wanted to be interviewed.
Honestly, I just feel that I have seen, a lot of your posts. You have interviewed others. And as far as I'm concerned, I have things to say as well. So why not?
Okay, you guys know
Yeah, why not?
Okay, good. So I have some rather tasty questions for you. So number one, tell us about growing up 70 plus years ago.
Growing up 70 years ago, honestly, was fun.
Okay.
And I will like to take those 70 years by the decades. In the 1950s, I was just a child, growing up in Zaria. I was born in Zaria. So my early years, was actually in Zaria. My father was working in the School of Agriculture while my mother was teaching in a missionary primary school, precisely St. Peter's Primary School in Zaria. We lived in Samaru because the School of Agriculture was, in Samaru, and the St. Peter's Primary School was in Samaru as well. The 1950s, actually were the years that you would love to be in Nigeria. Nigeria was very peaceful. And there was a lot going on in Nigeria. We were under colonial rule at that time.
Did you see the Queen?
Yes, I did.
How?
On TV. During independence in 1963, she came.
Okay.
And I was proud to be one of these school children that lined up the streets in Kaduna to welcome her into the country. Yes, I did. Now, Zaria was a growing town, even as at that time. And there was, for example, there was the presence of the colonialists then in Zaria. They set up so many factories, industries, economy was booming. There was the, trade in cotton, in groundnut, even in tobacco, So many things were happening in Zaria. There was also the presence of the missionaries, the CMS missionaries, Church Missionaries Society. Nigeria was very peaceful at that time. And even though Zaria, particularly the within the city walls, was quite honestly part of the Zazzau Hausa Kingdom, it was literally purely an Islamic area. But the Emir of Zaria then gave the missionaries space to stay inside the city. They were tolerated inside the city. It was after some time, the aim of the missionaries that time was evangelism.
Yeah.
So when some of the emirs and people started being converted to Christianity, that he decided to take them out of Zaria city. But with all the tolerance that was there then, gave them the choice to choose anywhere they wanted in Zaria. And they settled in Musasa. Exactly. So they chose, a site in Musasa, and they settled in Musasa, and in Musasa, they were operating schools. They established a hospital in Musasa, which is still functioning, And then also a theological, sort of seminary there in Usasa at that time. So there was the presence of the British, our colonial masters in Zaria. There was the presence of the missionaries, and also, as I said, because Zaria was sort of the headquarters of the Zazzau kingdom, there was also a lot going on because of that, development and all. So I literally grew up in a town, not, in the rural areas or in the villages, as a lot of my, peers and colleagues did. I grew up in the town in Zaria. Now, I'd like to give you an example of this religious tolerance, because what we are seeing today in Nigeria, you cannot compare it to what happened in those days. Yes. In the mid-1950s, my mother had to leave to the United Kingdom, for her teacher training. And my father remained in Samaru, working in School of Agriculture, apparently, because not many people were really educated at that time. So agriculture in the local slang was called akorpashan. It was called akorpashan. Okay. So my father was working in akorpashan. And we, the children, myself and my siblings, were taken to stay with my mother's elder sister, who was a Christian, but married to a Muslim inside Zaria city. She was one of 4 wives. She had a child with Al-Haji, but he never pressured her to become a Muslim. Even the daughter that they had till today is a Christian. She never was a Muslim. He never pressured. That was the tolerance. Yeah. That was the tolerance. I can remember every Sunday we used to go to Usasa, to attend the services there, Usasa Church. Al-Haji will rent bicycles for us. Okay. For us to go to church.
Okay. You guys didn't go in cars?
No, we never had any cars. Al-Haji will rent bicycle for us, and then he will give us money. Yes, he will give us money. Yes, he will give us money for offering, in the church. That was the type of tolerance that took place, at that time. So those were the 1950s. I was in not secondary school, primary school, from kindergarten to primary school. And then in the 1960s, what was happening, in the 1950s continued through the 1960s. Peace, tolerance, boom in whatever in Nigeria, and it was very enjoyable, to be there. In the early 1960s, in 1962, I went to secondary school. And in 1963, Nigeria got her independence from the British. Even when Nigeria got independence from the British, it was a memorable time. We had seasoned politicians, Sardauna of Sokoto, Tafawa Balewa, Akintola, Zik, from the East. These were seasoned politicians that had the interests of the country in their minds, and they ruled the country well. Nigeria started falling apart, actually, when the military came. I'm sorry to say, but when the military came, because then there was tribal divide in the country. Then that was when tribal divide started, and Nigeria went into civil war, in 1967. So things honestly started falling apart from that time. As I said, I was in secondary school, in the 1960s. From 1962 to 1966, I was in Dala, in Kano. I went at the age of 13. And I was one of the youngest in my class, even at the age of 13. And because of the peaceful nature of the country that time, all my mother did when I was going to Kano, I had never, gone outside of Zaria or Kaduna, but all my mother did was to take me to the train station in Kaduna, put me in the train, and I was on my own. And nobody bothered. She was not bothered about my safety.
And you were collected on the other side?
Oh yes.
But there were no phones?
No
phones?
No, at all. No phones, no nothing. We were collected, on the other side, and life was fine in the secondary school. The government of the day took care of us. My school was one of 2, secondary schools for girls that belonged to northern Nigeria at that time. My school was Government Girls College. Kano, it was Government Girls Secondary School before it was, the name was changed to Government Girls College in Kano. The second female girls secondary school for the north then was Queen Elizabeth School, you know, Ilorin.
Okay.
But in Kano, the government of the day took care of us. You know, there was harmony in the school, and that was it. You know,
1970s.
yes, but then, well, in the 1970s, that was when I went to university. That was when I went to university, and well, at that time there was so much freedom, you know, so much freedom. But the thing with us is that we went to secondary school, you know, at that age, at the start of our teens, we had already formed some values by the time we left secondary school, so that when we went into university, you know, we were already there was already good upbringing. Let me put it that way. There was already good upbringing.
Why did you choose to read medicine?
Honestly, I think I didn't choose to read medicine.
Okay.
What happened was that when I went to Kano secondary school, my school was fairly new. We were just the second set then, you know, in 1962. With only 30 girls ahead of us, you know, the year before. And the science laboratories were not set up.
Okay.
So we ended up all doing the arts and the humanities.
Okay.
With that, I couldn't go to do medicine. And I was okay with the arts and the humanities. I wanted to pursue that. But then I was influenced by my mother and by my teachers in school.
But your mom wasn't a doctor.
My mom was not a doctor, but she wanted her daughter to be one.
Okay, go on. Yes, you said your teachers also?
Yes, yeah, my teachers also, because my teachers saw the potential, you know, not just in me. my mother, for example, you know, went to talk to Miss Sefi Atta, who was an educationist in the Ministry of Education then in Kaduna, and, you know, to find out how possible it would be for me to do science subjects so that I could read medicine.
So, mommy, you were sharp, you were smart.
That was why I told you my teachers influenced me.
So you are smart.
Yes. So they want, you know, they thought that, you know, we could benefit from that. But then I told my mother, I said that honestly, I'm not the only one. I have a friend. Okay. I have a friend that I would like us to do this science together. And so my friend, now Dr. Mrs. Rosemary Abdullahi, okay, you know, was invited as well. You know, the two of us were taken after our fifth form. You know, after our West African School examination in Kano, we were sent to Girls High School Gindri in Plateau State in order to go and do science, which we started from the scratch, even though we did that all in a year.
Best friend goals.
Yes. To do science, and by the end of the year 1967, you know, we were ready for another West African School certificate exam, which we did and we passed, and so that, you know, gave us the platform to now apply for medicine.
So people, you know, can see where I get my sharp something from. It's from this woman here. So at what age did you have your first boyfriend? And did my grandma know? Oh, the truth, oh, you keep telling us to tell the truth. So,
okay. Before I went to secondary school, honestly, I knew nothing about boyfriend and girlfriend.
Okay.
But when I went to secondary school in Kano, you know, there were so many girls from all over the north then, you know, and majority of them were older than me. There were girls that were 14, 15, 16 years old in Form 1. Some of them, yes.
Sorry. Okay, go on.
Some of them had boyfriends. And so you see, with the influence of, you know, girls already have them and what they do, then I began to know that, you know, there's something like boyfriend and one could date and whatnot. I wouldn't say per se that I had a boyfriend while I was in secondary school, you know, but I had crushes on boys.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Okay.
Boys had crushes on me. You know, no, I need to go into this, yes, because I would love to tell you, you know, what happened, you know.
Okay. Okay, mommy. PG-13. Okay, let's go.
Okay. You know, our school was exclusively for girls, but then we had activities that took us, even to boys' schools, so that we mingled with each other. And that is from there, I say, we got crushes from here and there.
What
boys.
is a crush?
Well, we see a boy we like, we know. You see a girl you like. You see a girl you like. And boys will write love letters to us.
Mommy?
Yeah, boys will write love letters to us. Yeah, I'm sure I got love letters as well. But then you see what was happening in my school, Comfort. I think I need to tell you this. Before I went to secondary school in Kano, my school required what they call a letter list. And
A what?
letter list.
Okay.
Your parents will have to give a list of those that they agree you should write letters to and you should get letters from.
Okay.
And of course, during my days, no parent will write the name of a boy on your letter list.
Correct.
So all the love letters that we got were boys that we had crushes on, us. And then, anyway, when letters come, the letters will not be given to you. They had to be read by our teachers first.
Okay.
Yes, they had to be screened. They had to be read by our teachers. If it is a letter that from a person that is not on your letter list, you don't get that letter. Boys had written love letters to us, so the teachers would tear them to bits and throw them inside the dustbin. When we realized that, because we were very curious, we knew that things might like this might happen. Then we follow the dustbins, go to the dustbins, pack all the bits and pieces of the letters, put them together, and read our love letters. That happened throughout my secondary school in Kano. But then I told you I went to Gindri. So I will say that, honestly, I think, okay, in Kano, I attempted having a boyfriend. But, yes, but, it didn't last long because we found out that we were related.
Okay, don't mention the name.
I'm not mentioning it.
Mention the name. Okay.
We found out we were related, so I never had that stuff. But when I went to Gindri, I would say that was when I first had my first boyfriend.
How old were you?
In Gindri, I was between 17 and 18.
Okay.
Yes.
Then
Yes.
Can you call the name?
No.
Okay. Did grandma know?
Grandma didn't know. For us to have boyfriends and whatnot, in those days, there were rules and regulations.
Correct.
There were rules and regulations, So it is not, we did a lot of things, hidden away. We did a lot of things, in hiding. And having boyfriend or girlfriend, was one of the things that we did without our parents knowing. Because it was all influenced by, by them, by our parents. So your grandmother never knew. Your grandfather never knew as well.
And you carried that on. Because we never spoke about boyfriends and crushes and those type of feelings. If you had the opportunity to do it again, would you talk this time?
Yeah.
Would you?
If I had the opportunity in this age now, yes, I would. Okay. But the simplistic life that we lived in those days, that everything was influenced by either your parents or the society or the tradition or religion or whatnot,
But that hasn't changed. We still have society, parents, religion, traditions. But why would you find it easier to talk now?
Yeah, because children now did not grow up in the same type of atmosphere, even with all these factors that we grew before. And mark you now, even if there are all those influences, there is one mighty one that many parents cannot control, and that is the internet.
Social